I'm Grendalyn Morton with WBON TV, and we are at the Kentucky Reptile Zoo today. We're talking snakes and dispelling myths.
Visit the walk-in clinic at Mercy Primary Care of Irvine on Friday evenings and weekends with no appointment necessary. Walk-in care is open to the community, no matter who your doctor is. For those times when it's not serious enough to go to the ER, but you feel too bad to wait until Monday, walk in to Mercy Primary Care of Irvine.
So this is a rattlesnake from South America. It's venomous. It looks looking at me.
Yes.
It's making eye contact. Oh, now it's looking at you. It's making eye contact.
We've all heard the news. The snakes are really bad this year. Are they really as plentiful as other years? We talked to the experts at Kentucky Reptile Zoo to find out more and debunk some snake myths, as well as learn some interesting tidbits.
I liked animals. I've always liked animals. My dad thought that reptiles were strange and interesting, so he encouraged me to check it out, and I don't know if he realized how well that would stick, but it did.
It did. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been a keeper here for 6 years now, and this is the only zoo job I've ever had. So. Every year, people tend to think that there are more snakes than there ever were before. Really what it is this is something snakes and people have in common. They're both wanting to get out at the same time of year. For people, it's more out of relaxation. For snakes, it's a necessity. The weather's getting warmer, so they're getting out. They're able to find more food now. A lot of them are entering courtship during the spring, so they're on the move more to find all the things they need, and that just increases the odds that people are going to encounter them. It doesn't mean that there are more out there. Throughout most of Kentucky, there are only 2 species of venomous snakes. There are 4 in the entire state, but in our area, there is only the copperhead, the northern copperhead, and the timber rattlesnake. There are a lot of myths and rules that people try to use to tell venomous and non-venomous snakes apart. Some people will say look at their head, some people will say look at their eyes. Usually in the case of encountering a snake, the snake's going to be afraid of the person though and take off. So it's hard to identify when they're on the move. Plus you have to get kind of close to them to see their eyes anyway, which is not advisable if you don't know venomous from not. The easiest way is to just get familiar with the general look of each species. Looking them up, looking at field guides, and just getting familiar, because in nature there are a lot of animals that will try to mimic the venomous snakes to protect themselves, and so you'll find things like water snakes that get confused with cottonmouths often because they'll flatten their heads to try and look triangular like a pit viper. The copperhead is usually more identifiable by this hourglass banding that it has down its body. From the side it kind of actually looks like Hershey Kisses. And timber rattlesnakes, they'll most often have their rattle if they haven't broken it off. It breaks like our fingernails, and they have a yellow or blackish pattern with chevrons down their back usually. But no one's perfect. Everyone is different with their freckles, their hair color. Same with snakes. Their patterns aren't always exactly what you might expect. For people who find snakes in their area, especially if they don't want them in their area, the best things to do are to think about what are good hiding spaces for those snakes and try to get rid of them. So if your grass is a little bit tall, keeping it neater and trimmed. If you have a wood pile, that's a good hiding spot. If you're laying kids' toys out in the yard, little swimming pools, tarps, anything that is a good shady spot to hide under is a spot that a snake might think is a good place to hide. If you're bitten by a snake, the things you need to know are that not to panic, for one, that all of the general first aid rules that people might use in the field are not necessary or not effective. You don't need to cut the wound, you don't need to suck out the venom, you can't guarantee you've removed it all if you try that. You're just doing more damage to your skin there. All you need is a set of car keys to get to the hospital. If you think you've been bitten by a venomous snake, going to the hospital is the only thing you need to do. The hospital, major hospitals will carry the anti-venom against snake bite. There's only one anti-venom in the United States, so whether you were bitten by the copperhead or the timber rattlesnake, that anti-venom is designed to treat both. So you don't need to worry about which snake it was. You will probably expect things like swelling. There'll be pain. You'll probably know within the first few minutes that it was indeed venom that got into your system. But there's nothing to worry about. Ideally, If you can get to the hospital within a couple hours, that's the best. Sooner's better. But if it takes you any longer, that doesn't mean it's still not the most important thing to do. So there's no worries if you're out in a remote location. You have time. It won't feel good, but you do have time, and there's nothing to worry about for your life. It's just not going to feel great. Not as fast as wrestling.
For more great stories and features like these, check us out at WBONTV.com. I'm Grendalyn Morton.